This is Ron Kelleher with the Inspired Leadership Podcast, episode number 529. Today's episode is entitled The Dark Side of Success, Joab's Rise and Fall in Leadership.
Hello, and welcome to Inspired Leadership, the podcast for Christian leaders in the marketplace who want to be the best leaders they can be. And now your host, Ron Kelleher.
Have you ever worked with someone who experienced a significant rise and subsequent fall in their career? I have. One coworker, Pete, was known for his skills as a salesperson, but also had a reputation for not doing the work his bosses requested. Then Pete would blame other people instead of taking responsibility for his shortcomings. Ultimately, he only did things he wanted to do that he thought made him look good in the eyes of the bosses and advanced his career. It worked for a while. He progressed as a manager in the sales department. However, he was demoted when his lies and shortcomings came to light. In my opinion, Pete should have been fired because people who look only to their own interests and not to the company's interests are too dangerous to keep around. Pete's story is reminiscent of Joab's, which is recounted mostly in the book of 2 Samuel. Now, Joab was King David's nephew and a military commander in King David's army during ancient Israel. Despite his crucial role in leading David's army to victory in numerous battles, Joab was also known for his disloyalty, vindictive behavior, and ruthlessly cruel acts. As I was studying the book of 2 Samuel, I found several examples that demonstrate Joab's complex character, not only as a highly skilled military leader, but also as a man who disregarded the king's orders and engaged in deceitful and violent behavior. Joab was the son of Zeruiah. He was a prominent military commander. He was known for his strategic mind and tactical prowess, qualities that made him one of the most successful military leaders of his time. In 2 Samuel 2:12-32, Joab demonstrates his strategic skills in a battle between the forces of David and those of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul. In this battle, Joab leads a small party of men and secures the victory over Ishbosheth's army. The battle shows Joab's ability to effectively lead his troops and outmaneuver his opponents. In 2 Samuel 10, Joab again shows his strategic mind as he leads David's forces into battle against the Ammonites. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Joab outwits and defeats the enemy using a clever strategy. The victory was a testament to Joab's ability to think outside the box and find innovative solutions to complex problems. Joab's tactical skills are also evident in 2 Samuel 12:26-29, where he leads David's forces in a siege of the city of Rabbah. The siege of Rabbah demonstrated Joab's understanding of siege warfare and his ability to execute complex operations precisely. Joab's skills as a general are further highlighted in 2 Samuel chapter 20, verses 4-22. In this battle, Joab leads David's army against the rebels led by Sheba, son of Bichri. Joab quickly and efficiently defeats the rebels, demonstrating his ability to act quickly and decisively in the face of danger. And finally, in 1 Chronicles 11, verses 6-9, Joab is described as a great soldier whom David chose to lead his army. This description, combined with Joab's numerous military victories, is a testament to his skill as a general. But despite this important role in leading David's army to victory in many battles, Joab was also known for his disloyalty to the king. One instance of Joab's disloyalty to David can be found in 2 Samuel chapter 3, verses 22-7. In this passage, King David orders Joab not to execute his rival Abner, who'd been a general for King Saul. Despite David's command, Joab sends messengers after Abner, brings him back to the city, and kills him. This disobedience towards King David's orders demonstrates Joab's disloyalty to the king. Another example of Joab's disloyalty can be seen in 2 Samuel 18:14. In this passage, Joab leads a military attack against his cousin Absalom, the son of King David, who'd rebelled against his father. Despite being ordered by King David not to harm Absalom, Joab disregards the king's command and kills Absalom amid a battle. This act of disobedience towards King David's orders again demonstrates Joab's disloyalty to the king. And then in 2 Samuel chapter 20, verses 9 to 10, Joab continues to show his disloyalty to King David by ignoring David's orders to capture Sheba. Joab instead cunningly and deceitfully murders him. This act of disobedience towards King David's orders once again highlights Joab's disloyalty to the king. These examples from 2 Samuel demonstrate that Joab was a skilled military commander, but also a man disloyal to King David. Despite his successes in leading David's army to victory, his disregard for the king's orders and his deceitful behavior towards those who opposed him highlight his lack of loyalty to the king. And Joab was not only disloyal to the king, but he was also known for his cruelty and vindictiveness. In 2 Samuel chapter 3, verses 22 to 7, Joab kills Abner, the commander of King Saul's army, despite King David sparing Abner's life and releasing him to go home. Unbeknownst to David, Joab caught up with Abner, lured him into a trap, and stabbed him to death as revenge for Abner killing Joab's brother in a battle. This act of treachery demonstrates Joab's willingness to engage in violence and disregard again for the king's commands. In 2 Samuel 18:14, Joab murders King David's son, Absalom, despite King David's explicit instructions to spare his life. Absalom was retreating when he got caught up in tree branches. And as Absalom was dangling in the tree, Joab thrust 3 spears into Absalom's heart. This cruelty further underscores his disregard for the king's commands and his willingness to engage in violence. Finally, in 2 Samuel chapter 20, verses 9 and 10, Joab ignored King David's order to stop pursuing Sheba, a rebel against the king, and instead set a trap for his cousin Amasa. Acting as a friend, Joab came close, grabbed Amasa by the beard, and stabbed him to death. Again, this act of defiance and violence shows his willingness to engage in violence and disregard the king's commands. The story of Joab serves as a cautionary tale for aspiring leaders. While his military tactics and strategic prowess may have contributed to his initial success, his lack of integrity, empathy, and foresight ultimately led to his downfall. Instead, he was always focused on self-promotion. He was disloyal, willing to ignore the king and do whatever he felt would advance him in the kingdom. Ultimately, as King David was dying, he ordered his son Solomon to finally bring justice to Joab for all his misdeeds. Leaders must possess tactical skills as well as moral and emotional intelligence. The ability to see the long-term consequences of their actions and the courage to make tough but right decisions. Any leader without these attributes needs to be removed from the organization as soon as possible. Well, that's it for this week, and as always, questions and comments are welcome. Have you ever worked with or for a Joab? How did their flawed character impact your organization? I'd love it if you'd come over to the website at ronkelleher.com/episode 528 and leave me a question or a comment. And as always, before we go, I'd like to ask you to do me a quick favor, and that is to hop on over to whatever podcast service you're listening to this on. Leave a ranking for the show and a comment if you wish. It really does help us get the show into the hands of more and more people. So I thank you in advance for that and pray that God would help us all to be the powerful and the inspired leaders He intends us to be. That's it for this episode of Inspired Leadership. You'll find a complete transcript of this episode on my website at www.ronkelleher.com. My prayer now is that you'll go out and be